Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About House. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, so we're going to talk about this thing called Housing Market Crisis 2.0.
Okay, that sounds very serious.
It is the housing market crisis. It's going to crash. We've got all the data that proves it absolutely without a doubt. This proves there's a crash coming.
Okay.
Now, before we jump into this, I'm not going to show you the headline yet, because when I show you the headline, then we're going to go through all the slides.
Okay.
I'm going to say this. We caught a crash bro with absolutely fake information.
Yes.
Okay, without going into specifics, you were the one that discovered this.
Yes.
So give an overview of how it was like presented and then what you actually found out.
Okay, so he was going through slides from Zillow of homes in different markets, and one of the homes that he picked was Las Vegas. So he gave the address, and I actually stopped the video and I screenshotted that and I blew it up so I could make sure I got the right address. And he was talking about how it was a foreclosure, how the bank took it over in April of this year. So he went through the whole spiel, right? And so then I looked it up, and the property was listed in the MLS. And I looked, and it didn't say it was distressed. It said no to short sale, no to REO. And I thought, okay, sometimes things get entered incorrectly. I'll go with that. So I emailed the agent saying, hey, tell me about this listing. Is it distressed in any way? And that sort of thing. So while I was waiting for him to respond back, I did a little more digging. So I looked at the tax record, and I saw that it was still in the name of a natural person. And then I looked at the foreclosure history. And lo and behold, this is what I found out. There were multiple notices of default filed on this property. However, it was never foreclosed.
Oh, an NOD is not a foreclosure.
Right. It was never foreclosed. As a matter of fact, the property's been listed for 75 days as of a couple days ago.
And he made that a big deal about how it's 75 days and nobody's bought it.
His position was that it had been listed longer than that, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
So in reality, the property has been listed about 75 days as of a couple days ago. It's had multiple offers on it. Some were accepted, then it fell out, and then they accepted another offer and it fell out. But the point is, the property's been in and out of escrow a couple times, which happens. Not a big deal.
You emailed the agent to find out.
So I went ahead and I looked at all that. I actually PDF'd all of it. And then the email came back from the other agent saying, nope, this property is not distressed in any way. They're just looking to sell it. No big deal. Nothing unusual. Nothing to see here. So I thought that was really interesting because I have to admit, I believed him, meaning not the agent that responded back to me, but the crash bro that was putting this out. I actually believed him when he pulled up all these houses. So I had no reason not to, right? I mean, he's pulling up houses on Zillow. There's no reason for me to not believe him. So I couldn't verify, obviously, the houses from all the way across the country. That would have taken me too much time. But I could verify something in my own market. That was easy. It was just low-hanging fruit. And because that was disingenuous, now that calls everything he's done into suspicion. Now, a lot of what he does, he puts out lots of cool data, but it's manipulated. And we've kind of said that before, but it was just so disappointing to catch him in a fib so easily.
Okay, it's actually easy because the information all these crash bros have is completely manufactured. So the reason why we mention that is because, first of all, even in 2021, there were foreclosures. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, oh my God, one foreclosure out of 1 million houses. That's a housing crash getting ready to happen. Oh my God, it's been on the market 72 days. It's fallen out of escrow twice. It must be a housing crash. Like, that's the stupidest thing ever, okay? But here's the reason why we're doing this. Housing Market Crisis 2.0. The jury is in for 2018 and 2019. Now, guys, this is an article from 2019. It's a highly respected person who did a lot of research. Mm-hmm. Came to the conclusion that there was a housing market crash that was going to happen in 2019. Now, this spurred a ton of housing crashers. This is when the crash bros all came out and said the housing crash was getting ready to happen. What I want to do is go through this, and I want you to remember something. This was over 4 years ago. Housing has not crashed. Matter of fact, Think about all the people who saw this and went, oh my God, I'm canceling escrow on this $160,000 house because it's going to crash. And I'll wait and buy it in a year when I could buy it for half as much. Okay, let's go through the data, okay? Okay, here was the first slide. Okay, U.S. housing market crash 2.0. Here's the path U.S. housing prices had been following until the market rolled over. Now, he said rolled over. Now, if you look at this data, first of all, he's using the home price index, right? But Wanda, look what he did. He started at 200 as the base. So when you look all the way to the left at June, it's this little bitty sliver that looks like that's like home prices. And then when you go all the way to the right, it looks like home prices are up 20 times in just 1 year. Because of you can see the way this chart is formatted. The top is only 212. So the index went from 200 to 212. It's 6%. Home prices went up 6% in a year. 6%. They went from 200 indexed to 212 indexed. It's actually, it was less than 6%. It went up 5% and change. But look at the way this chart, so if you just saw this chart, you go, oh my God, look at the home prices shooting up 5 point something percent. Want it pretty ridiculous when you think, wait, why is 5% unreasonable for home prices to go up 5%?
It's not unreasonable. It's pretty common.
It's pretty common. And then what about the chart? I mean, you can you get an idea when you look at the chart. It looks pretty compelling, but then when you look at the numbers on it and you go, wait a minute. If you had, instead of making that 212 to 200, if you'd made it 0 to 200, 0 to 212, you wouldn't probably be able to see the difference of the climb.
Right.
But it looks more dramatic because the way they did. This guy intentionally did the chart.
Well, and that's what I'm saying as far as, a lot of the people that put out this negative, whatever the negative thing is, whether it's real estate or whatever it is, they just tend to manipulate, particularly any visual representations, because they understand that their audience is just going to pay just a few seconds worth of attention to the material. So it's very easy to have them formulate the opinion that you want them to have.
Okay, here's the next chart. He's drawing an analogy between Chapter 12 bankruptcies. So he's cherry-picked Chapter 12 over the previous 12 months. And he went back and went all the way back to 2007. What's interesting here is notice the housing. This has nothing to do with housing. Look, all the way at the left, you have 7 and 8, and that was the housing crash. By 2010, when this had peaked, that was the great financial crisis. That was completely different, okay? Those were completely different. And actually, there's no correlation. If you've wiped out your debts, it's even that much easier to make it's not like when you wipe out your debts, you then have to give up your house. Actually, we're not attorneys, but in most bankruptcies, you actually keep the house.
Right. And particularly, if you homestead the house, a lot of states have pretty generous homestead laws. So your house is actually excluded from the bankruptcy. At worst, if your house is included, a lot of times you're able to renegotiate your loan in such a way that it's more affordable for you. The last thing anybody wants is for somebody to lose their home. Okay, that doesn't serve anybody. So everybody tends to go out of their way to keep a borrower in the home. From the lender to the bankruptcy trustee, everybody wants that person to be able to stay in the home.
But what he did is he cherry-picked a specific thing. He made it appear to try to compare it to the housing crash and try to make it say that this was some leading thing. But this looks nothing like 2007. And you can see that there's no correlation between housing. But this is like somebody trying to prove a point.
Right, but the colors are pretty.
The colors are pretty, okay. Now here's another one. He took the existing home sales and the pending home sale index. Now, in 2019, interest rates did tick up a little bit. Okay, interest rates ticked up a little bit. Remember, the economy, we were starting to get some inflation. So the Fed started. Remember that Federal Reserve Open Market Committee was raising rates. It's not like a big deal like it is now, but they cranked up rates, and rates went up a bit, and it choked off some demand. So when it choked off demand, inventory rose a little, but not unreasonable. But the number of pending sales dropped because there were just less people interested in buying. Well, what he did was he formatted this chart in such a way to make it look like it was falling off a cliff. And that he even the way he draws the arrow pointing at it and circles it. Of course, we had the same thing in 14 and 15, right? We had some, it was kind of soft, but home prices were going. Actually, home prices went up those years, even though the total number of sales were less. So now he's drawing a conclusion here based on numbers of sales to home prices, and there's not really that correlation because look at 2009. Between 9 and 10, home prices were dropping, right? But look at the chart. The number of sales were off the charts because remember, homes were cheaper in 2009 10, so there were more transactions happening. We sold over 6 million houses that year, even though home prices were falling. So he's trying to draw this correlation that home prices are going to fall because transactions are down. But remember, home prices went up. You have the historical perspective here. Then what he does is he does this, okay? He takes this chart where, again, he's showing the total number of pending sales. He indexes them to the previous year. And then he puts these big red bars to show the decline, but it's not really that impressive. He's got anywhere from 7 to about 9% less than the previous year.
So this is a number of transactions, not values. So again, it's very important to understand what this represents.
Okay. 2018 home prices went up. Okay. The bottom line is this triggered the Crash Bros, the videos, and a bunch of articles came out. A lot of people referenced this data. This was this was one of these people trying to be the next Michael Burry. I'm going to predict the housing crash. So we all know that what happened in 2019, home prices didn't crash.
Nope. They
didn't crash in 20. In 21 or 22, and they moderated in 23 this year like we said they would.
Correct.
They've just been bounced around. About 7 or 8 markets are down, but the whole country is up. Home prices, the median for last month for home prices nationally is the highest ever recorded. Now, I'm not saying that will always be the case. It could certainly decline.
Right. I mean, it will absolutely decline. I'm not even going to go on a limb. It will absolutely decline because that's what real estate does. Real estate goes up and down. But over the long term, over the decades, real estate goes up, right? Year over year, it depends. But over the long term, real estate goes up.
So the bottom line is to point this out, is to show that you can take data, manipulate it in a way to where an unsuspecting person or a person who doesn't understand could have a belief that it's true, that this actually is something that they should be looking at. But you can see historically that you could be sitting here in 2019 going, I'm not going to buy a house this spring. This is a stupid mistake I could have made. I can't believe interest rates are 4%. That's ridiculous. I'm going to wait till they go down to 1% and home prices are half of what they are. Then maybe I'll buy a house, right?
Well, they should wait until homes are free and they're given out at Costco as samples.
And I'll get 1 million of them for $1. And then the next day I'll sell them all for $1 million each. I'll be a trillionaire.
There you go.
I think that's a trillion. 1 million millions is a trillion.
Yes.
Okay. Want it?
Yes.
This was sort of a ridiculous video, but it was funny that you busted the Crash Bro watching Crash Bro video.
Right. And I have to tell you guys, I actually did not out this person either to you guys or on his own channel. I did not comment. I didn't say anything. I just screenshotted, did my investigation. I left it alone. And it took a lot of self-control. I just want to add a girl for all the self-control that I exercised.
Yeah. So it wasn't real data. It was fake data. And it was much ado about nothing. Oh my God, there's a foreclosure. And it wasn't even a foreclosure. That's the other thing. Remember, when they say foreclosure, they don't really know. All they count are any filing. So if you've had 5 notice of defaults, 2 notice of trustee sales, you had it was canceled, it was withdrawn. All those are considered foreclosure filings.
Well, and what I question now, because this person is really well known, what I question now is, does this person really not understand the difference between a notice of default and a foreclosure? Because this person is using the word foreclosure in every video. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't think he knows what actually goes on. And now I'm like completely just put off by the whole thing and thinking that everything is kind of bogus. So it'll be interesting to see, maybe the next time I watch him, which probably won't be anytime soon, but it'll be interesting to see the next time I catch something.
Just be careful when you watch. We're trying to give you just accurate data. Like
Right.
the data we get is, you can decide.
Right.
We don't tell you what to believe, but we analyze the data we see. And analyzing the data we showed you is completely, our analysis is substantially different than their analysis.
Right. So if you have a counter argument, please be sure to provide a link to the data, because we're very happy to consider whatever counter arguments you have, but we just need the data so we can look at it ourselves and better understand and are able to give you a reasonable response back. We appreciate that everybody has an opinion, and we welcome your opinion, but if you want to engage us and if you want to challenge what we're saying, we welcome it. Just provide the data so we can have an intelligent discourse with you. On that note, please remember to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us your real estate comments, share the video, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.